Hello everyone, this is Father Peter again, coming from home to bring you a reflection on the Gospel passage from John for Tuesday, April 14th, in this Holy Week of the Octave of Easter. The great joy of the risen Lord spreading through these 8 days of the Octave of Easter. And we know that the disciples, after Good Friday, had isolated themselves in the upper room in great sorrow, in fear, and emptiness of not having Jesus with them now physically. And this gospel passage is the story where Mary Magdalene goes to the tomb looking for Jesus, finds the stone rolled away, and Jesus is not in the tomb. And she turns to look to see where Jesus is, and she sees who she thinks is a gardener. And she asks the gardener, "Where have they taken my Lord?" And then she realizes that it is Jesus, as Jesus calls Mary. All of a sudden, that emptiness and great distress and sorrow is lifted away from her, and in her heart now it's filled with joy. The joy of seeing the risen Lord. And Jesus tells her to go now and tell the disciples what you have seen. And so Mary now is charged to be a prophetess, to go and bring the joy that she now has to all the disciples, to wipe away their sorrow, distress, fear, and emptiness, and replace it with the joy knowing that Jesus has risen. Now, I have been recently kind of overwhelmed with the news reports of bodies being stacked up in morgues and filling the refrigerated trailers outside of the hospitals. Not only in New York City, but now in Detroit and in other areas as well. And I've been overwhelmed to hear the news that farmers are having to allow their crops and their produce just lay fallow in the fields because they have no way to harvest them or to be able to distribute them to people who are in need. Because many farmers had contracts with restaurants, and now the restaurants are closed. And so they have no way to get the food to other areas, to people who are in need now. Even dairymen are having to pour out their milk because there's no way for them to transport it and to get it to those in need. But I found that celebrating Easter Sunday and that wonderful liturgy of the risen Lord and Jesus rising from the dead, all of a sudden that joy took away the overwhelming aspect of my distress and sorrow, and instead filled my heart with the joy of Jesus rising from the dead to be with us always. And that joy also helped me to see the goodness that is going on around us. So many people are working to help their communities, to bring them comfort and to bring things that they need. And so this is the time for us to rejoice in the risen Lord. Because in the responsorial psalm that we have today, we say, "The earth is full of the goodness of the Lord." And we need to be the hands to do the work of Jesus, to bring that goodness to others in everything that we do. So let the joy of the risen Lord, this octave of Easter, fill our hearts and take away the emptiness, the sorrow, the sadness, the loneliness that we might be experiencing. And hold on to that joy that Jesus is with us. As we end with this prayer from the psalm, from the responsorial psalm of the readings today. Our soul waits for the Lord, who is our help and our shield. May your kindness, O Lord, be upon us who have put our hope in you. The earth is full of the goodness of the Lord. So let us repeat always this octave. The Lord is risen. Alleluia, alleluia. And God bless you always.